Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be having a look at an album what will shortly be celebrating its 50th anniversary. Today I'm going to be reviewing the album Something Else by the Kinks. So I'll just do the usual thing in this video, give a bit of background information about the album, then I will show you my vinyl copy and then go over each of the album songs in detail. So this was the Kinks' 5th studio album. It was released on the 15th of September in 1967. The album is kind of notable because it was sort of the last of the early period. It was the last album to be produced by Shel Tammy, and it spawned a number of hit singles, whereas follow-up albums weren't as commercially successful as far as producing hit singles went. It was made throughout late 1966 into the summer of 1967 as the Kinks cut back on their touring. Ray Davies was writing so many songs around this time. Not only did he write everything or most songs on this album, but he was also stockpiling material for a Village Green themed project, which he didn't quite know what he wanted to do with that yet. At this stage in time, of course that would become the Kinks' classic album, We Are the Village Green Preservation Society. So ultimately these were kind of the songs almost the leftovers from Village Green, kind of the songs which were sort of unrelated to that concept. So when the album was released in September 1967, it didn't do very well commercially. Already two singles had been released, Waterloo Sunset and Death Off a Clown, both were hit singles. However, when the album came along, it simply didn't sell. It only reached number 35 on the UK albums charts. This could have been because it was in competition with Kinks compilation of their greatest hits up to this point in time. For some reason the record company released both albums within a week of each other, so it was always going to fare a lot worse than a best of collection. So yeah, I'm now just going to show you my vinyl copy. This is, of course, as you can tell, a reissue. Originals of this are very tricky to get. You'd be very lucky to find a original copy of this. But this is the Kinks' 50th anniversary reissue. It came out, I think, in 2014. I could be wrong there, but that would be the Kinks' 50th anniversary. So yeah, there's the back of it. There's slightly weird, slightly creepy picture on the back there. I always thought that they looked a bit strange on the back there, a little bit of writing about the album. Basic packaging to this here, there's nothing to it, just a plain inner sleeve and plain back vinyl with this. So yeah, that is the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so now I'm going to go over each of the album songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So it starts off brilliantly, I think, with David Watts, which is, for me, one of the Kinks' very best songs, despite it not being a single or anything. Lyrically, it's just fantastic. It's about sort of jealousy over another another pupil at school, and that who gets all the attention, and that and how the narrator, the person singing this song, is inferior to this David Watts. I mean, it is a great track. I love the whole band performance. The Kinks are just rocking out on this track. It sounds brilliant. Probably the reason why this song is a little bit more well known than some of the other stuff on the album is because the Jam done a cover of this would be a minor hit single for them, which widely popularized the song. However, I do prefer the Kinks version, despite being probably a little bit more of a fan of the Jam overall. I do prefer the Kinks version. I prefer the way Ray sings it, and also just the whole production of it. I think it's more suited to the Kinks.
So
Okay, so now we get the first of 3 songs on the album, which was written by brother Dave Davies. Like, I believe this was the first time that he he contributed like his own songs like to a Kinks album. And like the first of those is like probably his most well-known solo song called Death of a Clown, which is really fantastic. Like, I mean, like it was like his first like attempt like at songwriting, and like just like a brilliant track. I think like it's about like I've read like it's about like the monotony of being on the road, like touring, and like he sings it like well enough. Like there's some like slightly like oddball like production like on it. Like you have like these echoey like backing vocals, like we'll give it a slightly sort of creepy like uneasy feel, which I think which I think like really works. Like this was a top 3 UK single, like so like Dave's like solo career like at this point like in time like showed like a lot of like great promise. Like whoever like follow-up singles like failed like to like basically have like the same commercial impact what this song did.
She was so jealous of her sister.
The third track in is called Two Sisters, which is a quite an interesting track. Like it features very heavy like harpsichord, like I believe played by session musician Nicky Hopkins. Like I mean, like it's got a very sort of like heavy like harpsichord like feel to it, like very sort of like again very quaint like English feel to this track. Lyrically, like it's about like a like despairing girl like who's always like jealous jealous of like being like lesser than like her like older sister, and that like I mean like it is like good, like some like guitar like comes in like later, like gives the track like a bit of like oomph, and like whatever, like it isn't a track which I would necessarily play like out with the album, like but like when it is on like I do really enjoy it. So yeah, that's Two Sisters would get a 8 out of 10. And then the album does go downhill a little bit, like in the middle of side 1, with a song called No Return, which is a more like acoustic piece, which I think seems a little bit like disjointed. Like you kind of got like the acoustic guitar like going along like the actual song, like wherever like the percussion like it seems to be going like too fast like for like the song. Like I don't know, like it just sounds like a little bit messy, this track. Like it always seems like Ray's like playing catch up like with like the percussion like on like this track. Like it could have maybe been like worked on like a little bit more, because like underneath there is a pretty solid track here, like both lyrically like and like melodically. Like whether it is just the Kinks like performance like on this song what lets it down for me. Next one is for me the weakest track on the album. It's a song called Harry Rag, which is a kind of like novelty like sounding song. Like I mean, like it's set to like this kind of like waltz, like sort of like knees up, like kind of like dance like beat like to it. Lyrically, it's like a lot weaker like this track, and like also like the chorus itself, like it's supposed to be sort of like sing along like style, like whether like it does get really annoying. So personally for me, Harry Rag would get a 5 out of 10.
He's a tin soldier man, living in the
Then it does pick up a bit with the next song called Tin Soldier Man, which is a more like upbeat number. Like again, like you've got like the horns like on this track, but like they do work really well like with like Ray's vocal like on it. Like it's a very pleasant song like overall. Like the chorus itself like really catchy. Like verse is like a little bit more like unmemorable. Like also like as well like the title, like I always think of like the Small Faces song like Tin Soldier, which was I think like released like around about the same time as this. Unfortunately, like this is like nowhere near like as good as like the Small Faces like absolute like classic song there. Like whether like it is still like a pretty solid track like on the album. Tin Soldier Man would get a 7 out of 10.
so to keep his little mama satisfied.
And then closing side 1, we get a track called Situation Vacant, which is again another upbeat number, but this time like the rock like comes back in like on the album, like more like heavier like guitar like on it, and like lyrically like it's still like kind of like classic like Ray Davies like material, like about like a guy like who's like needing like to move like jobs like to please like his like mother-in-law like or something like that. Like I mean like again like it really shows like Ray's like very different like style of writing like compared like to compared to his like contemporaries, like who all kind of like in like psychedelic like crazy land like at this time, like the Beatles like doing like Magical Mystery Tour, the Stones on like their Satanic Majesty's Request, whereas the Kinks were still sort of like writing about like normal people like and like normal like real life situations.
You just have to love me until the sun shines.
So now flipping over to side 2, it opens up with another favourite track of mine and like also another Dave Davies contribution. This one is called Love Me Till the Sun Shines, which this does come in for criticism, like a lot of like the time, like most like reviews like I've read like off this album say like this is like just like a filler song. Like however for me, I actually really like it. Like I mean like lyrically it is a little bit basic, however the actual performance like on this track like is stunning. Like I love the way like the guitar like slowly fades in, like I'm like again like they're just really rocking, like really like going for it like on this track. So yeah, like Love Me Till the Sun Shines, fantastic track there.
Kiss me with one ray of light from your lazy old sun.
Next one is called Lazy Old Sun, which is another mood change like on the album. Like I love, like it's a very psychedelic like sounding song, like again quite unsettling as well, like nice mood changes like in it. So yeah, like a great track there. Like I think like Lazy Old Sun, like I love like the way like I love the way like Ray sings it, like in like a very kind of carefree, like light and carefree sort of style. Like however like there's all like these sort of like slide guitars and like stuff like going on in it. Like really clever track, I think.
I'll take afternoon tea. Afternoon tea.
Another brilliant track follows that called Afternoon Tea, which is a very English, very quaint like sounding song, like basically like just about like having a lazy afternoon like drinking tea, and that like I mean like this track features where is he like Pete Quaife like very heavily like on bass, like his bass line basically like makes this song, and like also like a solid like set of lyrics like from Ray as well. Like I mean like it is another like great track, and like again the band like they all pull together like each like really like excelling like at like their strengths. The next one is called Funny Face, which is another Dave Davies like pen song. Like again, like you can really tell like he is getting like a lot of tracks, a lot of like the proportion like of the tracks like on like this album, like considering like he hadn't like even like really like wrote like before. Like this starts off like really well, like you get like a really catchy like introduction like guitar riff, and like it is like a really sort of like toe tapping song. Like again, like a lot of like mood changes in it, like the verse like itself, like as I said, like quite toe tapping, like however like the pre-chorus, like it goes to like a more kind of psychedelic like interlude, like however like the actual Funny Face is alright chorus bit, like again like it's like quite rocky, like quite sing-along sort of style. So yeah, like another like really like well constructed track here, like just for me like lyrically a little bit like weaker than like the Ray Davies like pen songs like on the album.
Winter is here.
Penultimate song is called End of the Season, which is a more kind of wistful like piano bass track, like Ray like croons like about like the changing like of like the seasons and that. So yeah, like it isn't a favourite track of mine, like a little bit forgettable. Like the backing vocals like are quite nice on it, but like apart from that there's not much like to know with this song. So yeah, a 7 out of 10 for End of the Season.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling?
And then the album closes with what is probably the Kinks' best song, like I would say, like certainly for me, like my favourite Kinks song, Waterloo Sunset, just a masterpiece, like of like a song. Like I believe like when like Ray Davies like was interviewed like shortly after like this album came out, like he was sort of saying like how he felt like about the Beatles, like the Beatles like having like album of the year like with Sgt. Pepper, but he said yeah, but I like had like the song of the year like Waterloo Sunset, like and like you really like can't like argue like with that, like I have to say. Like lyrically, like he paints like such a vivid picture like of like a busy London, like and like a man's like kind of like isolation like in like this setting, like although like everyone's busy and that, like he feels like alright like being like alone, like observing like this setting and that. Like musically it is stunning like as well, and like also like I love like the quite primitive production. Like I'm glad like they didn't go like overboard like with the track, like with orchestras like and like horn sections and stuff. Basically like the four member like beat combo like on this track, like it really fits the song, and like as I said, like it's not like overworked like at all. The backing vocals on this also are just like on point, and like Dave's like descending like guitar riff like what opens the song, like it's just like the cherry is just a cherry on the cake with this track. So yeah, like absolute like undisputed masterpiece there, Waterloo Sunset, to finish the album on. Okay, so overall this album would score 82%, which is a like excellent score. Like I mean, like it isn't a perfect album, like I mean there are like as I said, like some like slightly like more like inconsistent songs, like whether like for the most part like it is like a well like bookended album, like opening like with like David Watts and like Death Off a Cloud, and like finishing like with like some brilliant tracks like Waterloo Sunset, Afternoon Tea. So it has like some of like the band's like most well known like classic material like on here. It was a slight progression like for the band, like it is like quite similar like to the previous album, like Face to Face, at both like in terms like of like lyrics and like also like the actual like musical like style, like whether like it is like also hinting like a little bit like towards like the Village Green album. Also like Dave Davies like contributes like 3 of like the album's like strongest songs, like I feel. So yeah, like big credit like to him, like around this time, like he was just like on fire like writing like songs. Like as I said, like unfortunately like wasn't like able like to like sustain that, because I think like the follow-up single to Death Off a Clown was called Susanna's Still Alive, which I really like, I don't care like about that song, like, and like the other singles and that like didn't do like very well from him, like, but on this particular album like he was really writing like some great tunes, I feel. So yeah, overall a great album, like I feel. Like it is among like the Kinks' best albums, like right up there like with Arthur and like Face to Face and like Village Green Preservation Society, but it's not quite like a classic like off like the year. Like that would still like go like to Sgt. Pepper, like I feel. Like I think like that is like just like just like the album like of like 1967 personally. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed. Like I would be interested to know what you think of this album, or like some of like the songs like on it, like in like the comment section below. And yes, I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.